Just a few marks on the ability to focus, which is probably the most precious ability we have, and we should defend it and we should strengthen it. So, we are able to multitask to a certain degree, but since we are only able to focus on one specific task at a time, basically multitasking is kind of switching from one task to another task. And each interruption causes problems. Basically, our attentional space is very limited. We can focus on about 40 bits of information or 40 kind of impressions per second, which is in stark contrast to about 11 million bits per second, which our brain processes. And basically, we have the choice either to do some actual multitasking, which is restricted on a kind of lower level activities such as walking, listening to music, talking at the same time maybe to a friend, or typing some text message, while the very complex work, something which is difficult, which is new, as I said, really complex to understand, this basically occupies our complete attentional space. And the problem is, if we try to do certain things besides these really complex tasks, this means that that we are unfocused and that we try basically to share our focus between different tasks. And this has two effects. One effect is that there is not enough attentional space for our main task. And the other thing is that basically, since we are switching, we can't really focus on one task and another one at the same time. We are interrupting ourselves from moment to moment. And it takes some time to return to the task we want to solve, to the problem or to the book we want to read. And the interesting thing is that it takes longer to return to the task we are planning to do if we interrupt ourselves, in contrast to the fact or to an interruption caused by a third person, just from outside. Also, we can differentiate between two types of interruptions. There is a sensory interruption from outside, something we notice, we see, we hear, the telephone rings or whatever. In contrast to emotional interruption, which is inside in our mind and which is usually more disturbing and more destructive than sensory input. At some point, we can try to regulate the sensory input, which means we can clear which we should eliminate everything which distracts us, basically. And we can distinguish between two types of changing the level. Either we manage it really to work disruption free, which is something Cal Newport promotes in his book Deep Work. And there are different types. Either you can do some deep work, which is uninterrupted work, at a stretch in the morning, or some authors, for example, just took off and spent a week in a hotel to write. For example, I have a friend who wrote quite a few books, and usually he finishes the first draft and then he checks in for 1 or 2 weeks into a hotel and just overhauls everything and creates a second draft and in full isolation. So it's a way quite a few authors work, actually. Um, the some hours on a stretch type is, for example, Isabella Allende. She describes her work that she starts in the morning and then she just works and works and works till the early or middle afternoon, and that's it then. And she stops it. So we have a time frame, we have an emotional frame, and we have the different types of interruptions or disruptions, and we should try to control them. This means maybe just checking email once or twice per day, um, having a look at the notification on the smartphone, maybe put the smartphone into another room or just put it on flight mode. Um, Also, the environment should be rather clutter free, because if we see something, it distracts us, it reminds us of things. Personally, I would recommend something which is called brain dump, which means in the morning you just write for a few minutes everything down on task and everything which is in your mind. Right at the moment, I'm trying to do this twice a day, like in the morning, which I have as a habit already, but also I try to implement it now in the evening because it helps to clarify the next day and the tasks I have to do. And I think that's pretty easy. Actually, when I was studying, I prepared everything in the evening because we have a very limited time span with the highest kind of premium focus degree. And it's really stupid to waste each morning time in looking for books and the material and stuff like that and thinking, oh, what should I do? It's way better to prepare at least the first task and everything in the evening, and to have a kind of general schedule which helps to jumpstart the day. Most people are better in the morning, and personally I recommend really starting everything in the morning, because then your mind is fresh, certain problems didn't arise yet, and it's way easier to focus. That's how most people operate. But as I said, just try it. Okay. So one thing is we have to get rid of our interruption or distractions. And there are some distractions we can control and some we can't. So we should try to control the interruptions or distractions we create ourselves for the time, for the deep work time, which is in German Zeit am Stück, uninterrupted time. And we should try to lower the distractions for the kind of low level distraction working time. So we have basically these types. Also, we can try to control distractions we like, we enjoy, and give them a certain place in our workflow. We just don't watch YouTube video. Maybe we just say, okay, I'll do it later when I have done the first round of deep work, and then I take a break. Maybe I have my lunch, and then I'm just giving myself like 10 minutes watching a YouTube video, and then I go outside and take a walk for 15 or 20 minutes, which would be a good idea. Also, we have to try to kind of control our different distractions. And as I said, it's really helpful to prepare the next day. We should kind of fight notifications. We should also maybe think about getting rid of some apps, or at least we don't use them all the time. I think it's also helpful. I know that many people use times in time spent in public transport for kind of little work or distraction. And I started some months ago the strategy to basically not to do something on the phone except it really has to be done. And basically just kind of try to wind down, breathing kind of calmly, maybe watching the scenery, looking at the different type of shops, the people outside, and kind of using this as a break and just kind of curiosity laden break. As I said, flight mode is very good. Then we should also control the emails. What I do is usually I check the emails in the morning really briefly, only to see if there's an emergency. But if I don't see anything which is really urgent, like from a business partner or something regarding my work, I don't check them further, and I just close them down, and I try to work from an early hour. First, I need some time to get kind of, prepare myself, have some coffee, do a few little routines like brain dumping, and then I just go briefly through my emails and check two work groups I'm part of. If there's an emergency, and which takes about like 5 minutes in total maximum, and then I just start to work till like 11. So that's a good strategy. If you are in meetings, really try to focus on the meetings, be an active listener, ask questions, maybe do the protocol. That usually helps quite a bit to focus yourself if there is a protocol. Also have a look about the internet. It might make sense to unplug Wi-Fi or get out of the internet. I think it was also Isabella Allende, but could also have been another writer who has a laptop with just a writing program, and that's it. No internet, nothing. I think that's also a very good strategy. Also, have a look around you. What could distract you? Get rid of the stuff. Most of the stuff is unnecessary. And regarding music, you should kind of choose a kind of music. Nothing with speech, because then the brain tries to figure out what's going on, which is not a good idea. It should be something really light, something boring. As I said, kind of music. Music is kind of elevator music, which you hear when you're in a skyscraper and 2 minutes or 5 minutes in an elevator, and you listen to this boring or something like that. So I think you got the idea. Sorry about my singing. And as I said, brain dumping is a very, very good strategy to get to clear thinking. If you have severe problems, you could do something which Julia Cameron recommends, which is writing like 4 handwritten pages each morning. It's just kind of stream of consciousness. Whatever you think, if you think, oh, it's just a shitty situation I'm in right at the moment, I really hate this guy, then you would really write down literally, I think I'm in a shitty situation and I really hate this guy. You don't have to reread it, just collect it, put it into an envelope. Either you destroy it later or you keep it for reference, whatever. I did that some years ago, and it had a kind of brain dumping effect, though I think genuine brain dumping helps quite a bit, at least for me. For me it's more effective because it is way shorter. I just take a page and I just write down kind of bullet points, what is going on in my head. Occasionally I group this stuff, and so I collect all the ideas, and later on I can use that for project planning or for planning my schedule. So it's pretty useful and it's way faster. Um, Also, I do some other exercises I might tell later. So, okay, that was the first idea of getting rid of distraction.